Thank you. Thank you. All right. So I had a great mentor, and his name was Charlie Tremendous Jones, and he had a quote. He says that you are the same today as you'll be in 5 years, except for two things: the people we meet and the books we read. It's who we hang out with, it's what we put in our head that determines our character as a person. So in high school, if we hung around smokers, who were we? Smokers. Right? If we hung around jocks, we're a jock. Same thing applies today. If we hang around people that complain, gripe, and moan, that becomes the conversation that plays in our mind. If we hang around people that are positive and solution searching, then that too will be the conversation that we associate with. The bottom line, through the time we're going to have together today, I'm going to share with you some amazing people I've met along my journey, but also some books, some product you might want to have in your own success library. Now, for those of you who don't know my work, I've been published in about 77 books, 45 languages. I've done 5 motion pictures and happen to own Secret Knock. You know, what's so funny about Secret Knock is it used to be a secret. We host it right here, so you don't have to go very far, by the way. It's pretty cool. And what's really neat is over the generation of writing a book, I realized that there's a journey, there's a process. Raise your hand if you've ever wanted to write a book before. Well, if you do, you write something called a query letter. And a query letter says who you are, what's your message, why are you an expert, and who's going to read your book. Well, I wrote these query letters and I sent it out to every publisher in the world, every editor, every agent. I was turned down by 268 in a row. And the 269th person said, we'll do your book. All you got to do is change the title, the beginning, the middle, and the end part. That was horrible. I got a D in English. I couldn't write. So they said, you got to do something magical and hire a ghostwriter, a copy editor. You heard before Bill talk about it. Work your strengths and hire your weaknesses. So that's what I did. And I realized that all of a sudden they could breathe fire into a book that to me, I just couldn't write the same way. Well, it went on to change my life and literally the lives of millions of people around the world. And it had been easy to quit after 100 rejections or 150 or 212. But I realized it's the one word called stickability, the power to persevere that makes people come out on top. Would anyone here like a free copy of this book? There you go. And from there, I did another book called Positive Impact with my mentor, Charlie Tremendous Jones. And I realized to make a positive impact in your life, sometimes what's common sense to us is pure genius to someone else. Would anyone like a free copy of this book? There you go. And then over here, I realized I did a best-selling book called Ambition. The biggest thing that holds people back is a bad case of the one size. And that means I'm going to take action once I get the kids out of the house, once I get the big break. But it's the people that take action. Remember this, it's the action and the law of attraction that makes our dreams come true. You got to think it, you got to feel it, but ultimately you got to get off your backside and what? You got to do it. And I realized the biggest thing that holds people back, believe it or not, is their big butt. Okay? I'm a short, bald, white guy. I don't have a big one. But the bottom line is this. I do realize that most people sit there and say, I'd go do that. But it's that butt that holds you back. And it's the people that take the action, the necessary action, that come out on top. Recently, I realized for myself, I had a great mentor who taught me something. And you saw him here earlier, David Corbin. And David Corbin taught me a great lesson. And David said, surround yourself with people that are getting the results you want. So I realized if I was an aspiring artist, I didn't have to go to other starving artists. It would just be pooled ignorance, right? So I go, okay, I'd go to an art gallery and say whose stuff's being ripped off the walls and ask them what they're doing. So when I wanted to become a best-selling author, I did not go to people who wrote great books. I didn't want to be a great writing author. I wanted to be a best-selling author. I went to Barnes & Noble and I picked up every bestseller and I called those people up and said, will you teach me? And they did. And I followed the successful actions. A few years ago, I went to Africa and I climbed and summited Mount Kilimanjaro. And people say, thank you. They go, how in the world did you do that? Going from the mean streets of San Diego to the roof of Africa. I said, well, I didn't ask some dope smoking surfer to take me up the top, right? I found the Sherpa, the porter that had climbed it 800-900 times. Wherever they put their boot print, I put my boot print. I followed the successful actions. And I realized we could do anything, no matter what it is, by surrounding yourself with those amazing folks. And then say, well, how do you get access to them? Here's a big learning lesson. The most successful people are also the most available people. The most successful people are the most available. It is much easier to get to the founder of RE/MAX Real Estate Corporation than to the guy who owns the local RE/MAX office down the street. He's got 13 secretaries and agents, and you can't get to him. And I realized you could literally jump to the front of the line. Well, after I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro and we did a safari, I went to a little island called Zanzibar. And on the beach, I wrote a book with all the discoveries I learned along life success. Would anyone like a free copy of this book? There you go. Now, people ask me, no matter where I go, why is it I give away so many books when I speak? The truth is, they didn't sell so good. So here they are. Now, for those of you who are not really familiar with my work, you might be familiar with this book called Think and Grow Rich. You guys ever heard of this thing before? Well, the bottom line is in 1908, a young aspiring magazine reporter named Napoleon Hill gained access to the richest dude named Andrew Carnegie. It was supposed to be a 30-minute interview. Turned out to be 3 full days and nights. And at the end of the interview, Carnegie says, I like you, and I'm going to give you an opportunity. He said, work for me for free for 20 years, and I'll send you on a mission to meet all my friends. Napoleon Hill reached in his pocket and thought, work for free for what? And he turned to Carnegie and says, Mr. Carnegie, not only will I accept that mission, I promise you I'll complete the task. Carnegie says, you got yourself a job. But then Hill says, why are they going to talk to me? I'm just a kid, I'm nobody, I'm not connected. He said, don't worry about it. I'll write you a letter of recommendation. When people see it, they'll know I sent you. Give you all the time you want. Sat down with Edison, Einstein, the Fords, the Rockefellers, and wrote the 20th best-selling book, The Bible of Personal Development. But here's what you don't know. Mr. Carnegie gave that same offer to over 250 men before Napoleon Hill. Wow. He was the only person to say yes. Everyone else had a bad case of the what? The one size. They all had their big butt. And I realized that successful people follow in action even when they're scared. Well, that was in 1908. Fast forward 100 years to 2008, Napoleon Hill family and the foundation wrote the same type letter that Carnegie wrote to Hill, and they gifted it to me. And basically, I got a Willy Wonka ticket to travel around the planet to meet the most powerful and influential people to tell their stories in book and film. Not a bad gig, right? By the way, who would like a copy of this? Over here, wait, this over here. I'm gonna give it over here. There you go. Done, you own that one. Round of applause for her, very good. And the first project they sent me on a mission to do was called 3 Feet from Gold. You guys ever read this one? All right. Now, 3 Feet from Gold is a story about R.U. Darby. He's a gold miner and he has gold fever. He goes out west, starts digging, finds a couple nuggets and gets excited. He hides it and buries it and goes home and tells his family and friends. They chip in money to buy equipment to pull it out by the ore cart. And the first cart comes out and sure enough, it's filled with gold. Woohoo! They do the happy dance. But then the gold ran out. They kept digging. There was no more gold. They kept digging. The gold ran out. Defeated, Darby walks out of the mine and says, I quit, and sees a junk man walking by. He goes, hey buddy, give me $200. I'll sell you this mine, all the equipment. I'm going back home to Maryland. Well, the junk man surveying the equipment was worth 10 grand because the family chipped in, happily handed him $200. R.U. Darby goes home defeated. But the junk man goes to an engineer and says, what happened? This cat hit gold and ran out. He starts laughing. He goes, that's mining 101. It's basics. Everyone knows that gold runs in a straight line. It's called a gold vein. What Darby did is he came in one side, hit the gold, and popped back into dirt. He goes, go back to where they discovered treasure, go 90 degrees, just 3 feet the opposite way, and you'll tap back into the vein. Not only did the junk man pull millions upon millions of dollars out, but that's what fills Fort Knox today. And the moral is, how many times have we or someone we know quit one class short from a degree or sales or marketing? It's easy to quit. But it's the people that persevere and keep going, they're the ones that we tell the stories about in the future. You know, one of the favorite stories for me out of this book was a poet, a philosopher, a wordsmith. His name was Evander Holyfield. You know the boxing dude? He won more heavyweight championships than anyone in history. And I asked him, how did you do it? And he goes, that's easy. I have a higher standard. So what do you mean? He goes, well, in sports, I showed up early. I left late. I invented exercises. I had a higher standard, and I won more championships than anyone in history. He goes, where could you be in your own business if you raised your standard as well? And I looked at him and I said, but didn't it hurt being in a fight? He goes, God, yeah, it hurts. When you're in a fight, you don't focus on the pain. You don't focus on the blows. As soon as you focus on the pain, you end up on your back knocked out. He says, but that's what everyone does outside the ring. They focus on gas prices, war, economy, and they wonder why they never become a champion. And he pulled me in tight, an Adonis of a man missing half an ear bitten off by Tyson. He says, you know what the funny thing is? He says, when you do win the championship, he says, everyone comes to their feet and they chant your name. They raise your hand in victory, and a guy puts a big, shiny belt around your waist. And at that moment, and at that second, you don't feel even one of the punches you took along the journey. But the guy in the losing locker room will have every bruise, every excuse for the rest of their life, wishing they had a higher standard. Now, a lot of times when speakers talk, you wait for the end to get the big aha. I'm going to give it to you right now. If anyone's going to pull out a pen and paper, this would be your moment. One of my favorite all-time realizations of business success and life success comes down to this. I had a chance to meet a gentleman named John Schwartz. John Schwartz invented something called superstring theory. If you ever watch The Big Bang Theory, you know Sheldon's always trying to figure it out. One gentleman did. And I sat him down and I says, John, I go, what's the secret of personal achievement and success? And here's his answer. This is it, guys. He said, successful people seek counsel where failures listen to opinion. I go, what's the difference? He goes, opinion is based on ignorance, lack of knowledge, inexperience, like all your family friends who've never done what you want to do. Counsel is based on wisdom, knowledge, mentorship. People have already paved the way. If you go to a family friend and tell them you're going to write a book, they might talk you out of it if they've never written a book. If you go to Jack Canfield, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul and sold 1 billion copies, ask him how to write a book, he'll sit you down and say, look, before you get started, here's what you need to know, and give you counsel based on wisdom, knowledge, mentorship. John Schwartz said if we would spend our activity only seeking counsel and ignoring people's opinion, that's the day your life would change. The big question is, where are we getting our information from? From now on, when someone comes up to you and says, you should do this, don't be afraid to ask them, where did you get that information from? Why should I follow that guidance? And you'll be shocking and amazed. Most of them will say, I don't know, it just sounds like a good thing to do, right? And the whole idea is to seek counsel, and that's all I do. When we started Secret Knock, the whole idea is instead of coaches, teachers, mentors, I said, what if we just brought in the actual person who did it? What a concept, how life would change. One of the people I interviewed, and we did a little premiere here last time, was Frank Shankwitz. You all know him, the founder of Make-A-Wish Foundation. And I was interviewing him. I said, Frank, I got to ask you a question. I go, what was your wish? He goes, what are you talking about? I go, well, you're founder of Make-A-Wish. What did you ask for? And he goes, no one asked me. I go, what? I go, I'm going to give you whatever you want. You want a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, Porsche? You name it, I'm giving it to you. He says, no. He goes, I just want my story to be told so my grandkids know I did something cool. So he signed over his life, right? Took 5 years, millions of dollars. We finally completed this year the movie called Wish Man, and we're in final distribution right now worldwide. You know, it's just like Zig Ziglar says, that get what you want, just help others get what they want first. Now, this is one of my books that was published in Spanish. I have no idea what it says. Would anyone like a copy of this thing? Here, come get it. There you go. I have no idea what it says. You can read that to me later. It's kind of funny. The foreword was done by Vicente Fox, who was here at Secret Knock last time, and we were sitting here on the couch, and it was really interesting. So President Vicente Fox comes out on stage. Everyone's going crazy, and I go, Vicente? I go, I'd like to ease our interview really slow and casual as we build up. He goes, absolutely, Greg. And so I understand that you're building us a wall. Right? And he just went AWOL. And the idea is, again, surround yourself with people that have actually experienced it, and your life will change accordingly. Now, after I did that amazing book with 3 Feet from Gold, the follow-up was this thing called Stickability. This is a DVD, by the way, so if you're not a big reader, there you go, hand went down. All right, there you go, I like that. All right, there you go, so Stickability. Now, Stickability was the power to persevere. I had a chance to sit down with one cool cat. The first one, I was watching 60 Minutes, and I see this guy named Marty Cooper. Now, you don't know him, but you'll know what he invented. You ever heard of a cell phone, right? And I sat down in his business. It's right here in Solana Beach. And I asked him, I says, what does stickability mean to you? And he looked at me and said, stickability has to be parallel with another word called flexibility. He says, if you're not willing to adapt, if you're not willing to adjust, you'll get stuck. Get out of the chair. And he told me a story about a spider monkey. He said the spider monkey is the most quick, nimble creature. You can't harpoon it, spear it, catch it. It's too wiry. But one hunter figured it out. He took a heavy log, drilled a tiny hole, dropped a peanut, and left it at the base of the jungle. The monkey would smell the nut. Come down to the treetop, reach his hand inside the hole, grab a hold of the nut, and his fist becomes so big, he can't pull it back out, become anchored to the log. All he's got to do is let go. But he thinks that nut is nutrition. It's saving him. He holds on with dear life. The hunter comes by an hour later, captures the elusive spider monkey. Now here's the big question. Are you holding on to your own nut right now? Right? But it could be in the form of that job or a relationship or fear or guilt or remorse or a car or a boat. And what we think is saving us and we're holding on with dear life could be the single thing that's leading to our own demise right now. Sometimes we have to have the courage and the fortitude to simply let go so we can live to fight another day. All right? After that, I sat down with Woz, Apple Computers, and I asked him, I said, how did you and Steve have so much success in your life? And he said, that's easy. He says, we embraced our lack. I go, what do you mean? He goes, we embraced what we did not have. Rather than run from it, we ran towards it. He said when microchip processors came out, they were so expensive, he goes, we could only afford one of those chips. He goes, Jobs sold his Volkswagen. I sold my calculator. We pooled our money and we bought one of these little magical chips. He goes, Hewlett-Packard would build these machines. They go from point A to point B with 20 chips. They had all the money of God. He said, so I pull away 5 and configure it to go from A to B using 15. And then I pull away another 5 and get it to work with 10. Till finally, I went from point A to point B using our one chip. He goes, we were not being innovative. We were not trying to be cool, slick. We could afford one chip. But by embracing that as an opportunity, we also found the shortest, cleanest path. And by doing that, we changed the way people do personal computing for the rest of the world for the rest of their lives. And so where could you be right now in your own business if you stop looking at something as your greatest challenge, your greatest obstacle, but it might just be the greatest blessing, the greatest opportunity in disguise. Now, working with the Napoleon Hill Foundation, this is a little gem right here. So what happened is I went through the archives. I have access to all of Napoleon Hill's handwritten notes, memos, and I found vintage film canisters from 1930s, before I was born. And I dusted it off, and inside, guess what? It was W. Clement Stone and Napoleon Hill talking about the principles of success. So, okay, I'll give it to you. Let me tell the story. And so, what happened is I realized that the 13 principles of success, the biggest one they say, it's finding your definite major purpose, a positive mental attitude. But the one that really struck with me? It was the power of enthusiasm. Have you ever noticed the more fired up you are about your own product, good or service, other people are fired up about it? You ever have people come to your door and ring it and all of a sudden they're, hey, do you want to buy some cookies compared to, hey, guess what? I got some great cookies, right? Who are you going to buy them from? And I realized that the power of enthusiasm is what separates the 95% who just dream of success to that top 5% who actually achieve it. Now, this little gem right here is Making Miracles from the Napoleon Hill Foundation. If you ever wanted a dream and want to know if it's possible to come true, this is the book that'll make it come to reality. And then this little thing over here is something that I don't share very often. Oh, wow, okay. So listen to this one. Hold on a sec. I'm gonna kiss this one. All right, so this one right here, the Napoleon Archives, they made these leather-bound vintage books, and they were gonna sell them, and they never did, so I bought all of them, and they're in my garage, so no one else have access to it. But people don't understand this. When Napoleon Hill went around and interviewed all those people for Think and Grow Rich, they were all written into articles. These are those articles of that Napoleon Hill actually wrote to write the best-selling book in history. So round of applause for you. Enjoy that one. There you go. Now, people always ask about Secret Knock. Here's the way it works. We're the strangest business in the world where a lot of people promote speakers and how cool of a spot it is. We're the opposite. We're the George Costanza opposite day guy, right? So what we do is our things are $3,000 to go, and we will not tell you where it is or who's going to be there. But I will tell you, we've had Vicente Fox. We've had Tonino Lamborghini flying from Italy. We've had the founder of Showtime, and we've done a private Skype with Edward Snowden while he's hiding in Russia. And I will tell you this, in March 11th through the 13th, the people I got coming in will blow your frickin' mind. And we don't have a sales pitch, there's no discounts. That's it, $3,000, won't tell you where or what. Here's the thing, anyone wants one of these things, let me know and I'll get you an application. And the whole idea is, imagine where our lives would be is by surrounding ourselves with people that are getting the results you want. Imagine going face to face, knees to knees with the people who've already accomplished everything you've ever dreamed and desired. Imagine jumping to the front of the line, like going to that club where they open up the little velvet rope and you go right to the front. That's what Secret Knock is all about. And along this journey and meeting these amazing people, a couple things kept coming to life and realization for me. I realized it's the most successful people don't get bogged down by what other people think and say. My son's 6 years old. His name is Colt, and he plays this game called Fortnite. You might have heard of it, right? And I was listening the other day, and he plays with these people that are 30 years old and all these old teenagers. And I looked at him, and he was looking at the volume, and he just turned it down. I go, what's that about? He goes, they're cussing at me, and they're teasing me, and they're kind of bullying me. And I go, what'd you say? He goes, I just told him to shut up and play the game. And he turned down the volume. I went, you're going to be a billionaire. I go, because you didn't buy into that. You know, when Napoleon Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich, the biggest chapter was dedicated to the 6 ghosts of fear. And then at the time, 100 years ago, it was the fear of loss of love, the fear of old age, things like that. But I don't think that's what big fear is today. I think the biggest fear is the fear of pain, the fear of loss. And here's the biggest one, number one, the fear of judgment, what other people are thinking. Here's a news flash. No one's thinking about you, right? They're dealing with their own situation. So the bottom line is for myself, I realized if I was walking down the street in Nebraska, I've never been to Nebraska, and I tripped over a curb, first thing I'd do is look up to see who saw me. I don't even know anyone, right? But that's how much the fear of judgment is. There's a coffee mug at Disneyland. It says, what would you do if you could not fail? That's great. Here's a big question. What would you do if you stopped worrying what other people thought? Would you start that business? Would you ask that person out for a date? Would you act differently? Would you put yourself in a circumstance for success rather than running away from it because we're afraid of the judgment we'll get? And here's the funniest part. The judgment we'll get is only from people that are offering opinion. Crazy, right? For the last 3 years, I've been traveling around the world and I've been interviewing people worth $100 million to $1 billion. And I've got a book coming out. It's called Wealth Made Easy, where I wanted to simplify how the biggest success people in the world think. And at the upcoming Secret Knock, I'm bringing in some of these billionaires to share. And you guys want to hear one of the little secrets? Yes. No, you guys suck at that part. All right. You guys want to hear the story or not? Yes. All right, so here's the deal. This one cat, I said, how did you make $1 billion in dirt? He says, that's easy. Time plus land is money. I go, what? He goes, time plus land is money. That doesn't sound complicated. He goes, it's not. He goes, all I look is a town anywhere in the world that's growing exponentially about 25% a year. Go on Google Maps, you can find it anywhere, it's free. He goes, here's where it gets complicated. I look for Broadway, Main Street, and I draw a line out 8 miles and I buy the dirt. He goes, I rent the dirt to farmers who pay the lease so it's free and I get vegetables for years. As the town keeps growing at 25%, it ends up on my plot. Since I'm on Broadway, Main Street, and I own the biggest land, that's what I sell to Costco or Walmart for 800 times what I paid, $1 billion. Right? And I realized that that's what it is. Success does not have to be complicated. It's about following the successful actions of other people. So look, I'm going to wrap it up. But I am going to say this. Look, I don't know everyone in this room, but I do know this about you. You are the person that everyone comes to for counsel. You are the person that everyone else thinks you've got it all together. But you're like that beautiful duck on top of the water. You're gorgeous. Underneath, you're freaking out like the rest of us, right? And you've been taking care of your friends and your family and your peers and your coworkers, and that's fine. Know why? Because you're a leader. But it's time to draw a line in the sand. And you step across and say, it's my turn. I love you, family. I love you, friends. You go take care of yourself. I'm going to take care of me for 2019. You draw a line in the sand and you step across and say, it's my turn. I've got that idea for a book or a movie or an entrepreneur dream. I'm not going to take it to my grave. Just like Napoleon Hill said, our greatest success will always come just one step beyond our greatest setback. So when you want to say die and throw in the towel, that's when you kick it in the most. You draw a line in the sand and say, I love you all, but I'm tired of watching other people not as smart as me have more success. That day ends today. You draw a line in the sand and you step across and you say, it's my turn. I've got that idea. I've got that dream. And I'm going to bring it to the world and inspire people to do the same. And when you want to say die and I can't go another step further, that's when you kick it in the most. You got greatness inside of you. Never quit, never surrender. You could just be 3 feet from gold. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Let's get it up again for Greg Reid.
Do this?
Definitely, this guy knows how to dress or what. Why would have done him really quickly with the custom-made jacket just for Greg?
How cool is that? Brad Auto, everyone. Custom clothier. I've been wanting a special jacket from this guy for the longest time. Hold on one second. Drum roll, please. I guess I am getting naked on stage. All right, here we go. Woo! Look at that. Here, take it off. Let me put it on. That looks absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. Here it is. I'll put it on and I'll do my little reverse strip tease. All right, there you go. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, Brad Otto. A secret knock. The secret knock logo inside. Thanks, brother. I appreciate you greatly. Thank you very much. Hey, by the way, a round of applause, Manny Lopez, everybody. There you go.